It was time for us to pack up in Alice Springs as we were about to head on over to Mount Dare, our last stop before we crossed the Simpson Desert. So everyone was doing their final preparations.
So we're basically just spending a bit of time now going over, double checking things. We've got a good few bodies we're taking across the desert, which means we've got a lot of food, we've got a lot of water and all that sort of stuff. Got to get it packed in because when you go over the top of the dunes, it's all about everything moving around inside the vehicles, and we don't want that happening because it's loads shifting, making life more difficult and damaging stuff, of course. So we get all that packed in properly, then we start preparing stuff like our desert flags, and we'll be good to go.
Mate, I have become the designated freezer for all of our meat goods. Fresh meat on the road, can't beat it. Which reminds me I should probably turn this down a bit. There we go. And potato jammies. Can't leave home without the comforts, mate.
So we're just putting some water into the Waco so we can stay hydrated while we're out in the desert.
Hey, it's that time of the trip. You've been on the road for a few days. When you're living out of the vehicle like I am, it gets to be a bit of a mess. So before we hit the desert, I'm gonna pull everything out and repack the car so I know where everything is. It's all nice and neat, and my OCD can settle down a little bit.
As we left Alice Springs and headed towards Mount Dare, we started to think about what we were going to see when we crossed the desert.
So I've never been to the Simpson Desert. It's definitely been a bucket list item for me for quite some time. I'm really looking forward to mainly actually the stars at night and being able to actually see those. I've heard some pretty amazing stories, I've seen some really nice photos, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Can expect it to be a bit of a challenging run across the desert this time round, just because of the sheer number of traffic that's come through after the Think race. Going to be a fair few corrugations and a lot of cut up sections travelling up the upside of the dunes. Shouldn't be too much of a problem for us, but something to be mindful of.
So the run from Alice into Mount Dare, it's quite a few Ks, and we ended up leaving a little bit later than we would have liked, which happens on the road. You've got to be flexible with these things. But the advantage of that was we were treated to this amazing sunset. Now, I get to spend a lot of time out in the bush with the Off-Road Adventure Show, so we get to see a lot of pretty cool sunsets. And I'm telling you, there is nothing that compares to an outback sunset, and we got an absolute corker yesterday.